Quarantiki number 90.
90?
90. 90. Um, Hi, we're here. We are. We have just gone final on the Miami Dolphins Patriots game, and my Miami Dolphins beat the ever loving Patriots. Thank goodness! Yay! What a way to close out the season that we swept the Patriots this year. First team ever to go 7 losses in a row, followed by 7 wins in a row in the NFL. It's been a roller coaster season. Okay, so I'm going to take my highs where I can get them this year. Yay, we beat the Patriots. So what are we going to do this evening? Well, first of all, we're going to toast to something to still standing. I think it's what we're toasting to. Or as much as we are still standing, my poor wife has managed to reap the benefits of continuing to live in this world with a little bit of arthritis and some bone spurs. And so while she's standing, she's not standing extremely well.
Yeah.
So
I have a new place on my body that's bone on bone and bone spurs.
bone on bone.
Yeah.
When we were younger, that would be kinky, but
it's
not happening. So to another day standing, or at
another
least
day
able
above
to,
the roses,
yes.
as Gaelic Storm says.
Well, in that case, we should be drinking Four Roses bourbon.
Ah.
But that's okay. We're not going to do that.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
What are we drinking?
We're drinking the Privateer. This is the letter of marque.
Oh.
It's cast strength 53.6. Privateer is out of Ipswich, Massachusetts, and is one of the premier distillers of rum in the United States. I mean, there are some good distillers of rum in the United States. Privateer is well up there. Oh, I should give a shout out to one of our other favorite rum distillers, which is Lion Rum. We just love Lion Rum. What can I say? They're yummy. Their Navy strength is good. Drink more rum is from them. Yeah. Yep. We are going to drink more rum this evening. I'm going to try and keep my intake a little on the lower side. Mm-hmm. Still trying to figure out how meds and alcohol are going to work. So this will be fun. Anywho, what are we doing this evening? We're going to do some science. Science! At least, hopefully. So
you're going to attempt some science.
I'm going to attempt. Well, we are going to do science.
Because you're documenting it.
It may fail, but we are going to do some science this evening. So many years ago, I had a chance to drink at the Columbia Room at their tasting table. And one of the things that they introduced us to was something called a clarified milk punch.
Kristen Snelling is watching to find out what a clarified milk is.
And when they first said it was a clarified milk punch, I'm thinking, a punch with milk? Oh, okay, that sounds a little odd, but whatever. I trust the Columbia Room. They're good folk. And out came this crystal clear liquid that didn't look like milk had been anywhere near it. So I inquired because I was curious, and I've been following this thing ever since, trying to figure out if I really want to do this or not. This is going to sound strange, but what they're doing is essentially they're trying to take some of the rough spots out of either the alcohol or the citrus or other components in the drink and add an increased mouthfeel to it. And the way they do that is with a milk wash. So what's going to happen is we have what is essentially a cocktail made. And that cocktail, we're going to add some acid to it. And then we are going to pour that into milk. And if you know anything about chemistry, you know what's going to happen when the acid hits the milk. It's going to curdle. The thing is, when it curdles, it's going to take a lot of the nastier components out, and those will go into the curds. And then we're going to lightly pull the liquid off of the curds and that sort of thing. And what we will be left with is a clarified liquid, which should strip some of the color out. I don't think we're going to be particularly dark anyway. It should be very, very clear or very, very translucent. It won't lose all of its color. And it should have a really sort of unctuous mouthfeel to it. Very much more thick mouthfeel than you would get from a normal cocktail.
Got a Cam and a Gwen.
Clarifying via milk is something that has been done since at least the 1600s, if not earlier. We have recipes from Benjamin Franklin doing this on a large scale. One of the other wondrous components about this is that you can take all of those fresh ingredients that you throw together in that cocktail, clarify them with milk punch, and the result is darn near shelf stable. So, punch that's only going to last 2 or 3 days, you can clarify that, and ta-da! Now you've got at least a couple of weeks to drink that punch, which that's pretty nice. I mean, I don't know how shelf stable it is, so I would drink it in the next couple of weeks. So what are we going to do for this milk punch? Well, we have to do this in multiple pieces. So the first part is concocting the punch itself. And we're going to do that in this mixing pint here. So what I've done ahead of time is I took a bunch of grapefruit peel, roughly 3 ounces of grapefruit peel, and I threw them into a bowl. And then I took roughly 3 ounces of white sugar and threw that into a bowl. And then I mashed that all up with a muddler. And then I let it sit for about 20 minutes. And then I mashed it up with a muddler. And I let it sit for 20 minutes. And then I mashed it up with a muddler. And I did that for a couple hours, basically. And what I got off of this was, this typical grapefruit oleosaccharum, where the sugar pulls all of the juices and oils out of the grapefruit peel. Then, while that was happening, I brewed up some really extra strong Lapsang tea. And then I poured that tea on top of the oleo to finally dissolve all of the sugar and to get all of the juices and oils out of those peels. And then I strained that into here. So what we have here is a tea and grapefruit oleo mixture. And we're going to go with 3 ounces of this. Actually, I'm going to shake it first. There we go. And we're going to go with 3 ounces of that. So this has some sweetness. It has some sour already. It has leaking from the lid. That's not good. I don't know if you can tell though, but that is a pretty murky, cloudy kind of liquid. It's not particularly clear. So we'll see what happens with this. Step 2, we add the alcohol because there's no alcohol in here. One of the classic recipes for these kinds of punches uses port wine as one of the ingredients. And so we're going to do that. We're going to open up our bottle of Churchill's Vintage Port from 2011. And violating the principle once again of always open the bottle before the show. You would think if it was a principle, I'd actually be following it, but apparently not. It's all right. It's all good. Oh no, it's not good. Oh no. Oh no. I need a corkscrew. Whoops.
Do you need me to find you one? And we have a Ruth.
How do I not have a corkscrew? I know I have
You
one.
have a corkscrew. You talk to the people, I'll find the corkscrew.
Okay, so we're going to add port to this as soon as I find a corkscrew to open that up. Once again, proving the adage, open the bottle ahead of time. If not, there might be one in the travel case. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, okay, what else goes in here? Well, we're going to add some rum to this. And what we're going to do is we're going to add 1 ounce of Hidden Harbor white rum. So I'm going to flip this over. 1 ounce there. There's going to be a total of 2 ounces of liquor here. So 3 ounces of other ingredients, 2 ounces of the liquor. Yay, Verily? Nothing? And the science experiment comes to a crashing halt due to lack of equipment. I am going to add some bitters to this. And what do I want to do with the bitters? I want to add... Where are my tiki bitters? Here's some tiki bitters. All of the things. All of the things. I thought I had it. I thought I had it all. We're just going to add 1 dash of the bitters here. And we're desperately hoping that there is, in fact, a bottle opener. Bottle opener, not bottle opener, a wine opener. We used to show up at people's houses with bottles of wine, and sometimes they didn't have wine openers. So we have a baggie of them in our car. Literally a baggie of these things. We picked them up at garage sales. They're given out as like, I don't know, just swag gifts. This one's from United Airlines, so who knows where you get these guys from. All right, so we need an ounce of port wine. So here we go. We're going to open this, hopefully. And then I'm going to have to figure out a way of getting this cork back in. That's going to be fun.
Well, we can worry about that after.
We will worry about that afterwards.
Laugh, laugh, laugh.
Laugh, laugh, laugh. Everyone's laughing at poor Pooch. Hey, at least I can laugh. 2 weeks ago, that would not have worked. Okay, 1 ounce. 1 ounce goes in here. 1 ounce port. There you go. Nice ruby color. And we're not going to lose the color, but we will get this more clear, presumably. Presumably, this is the plan. I'm going to wipe my hands on a towel that I don't care if it gets red on it. We've got the rum, we've got the port, we've got the tea oleo mix. I'm going to swirl that around a little bit. We need to add some citrus to this just more citrus to this in order to make sure that it curdles. So we are going with 3/4 of an ounce straight up lemon juice. Now, you can use basically any acid here. Almost every recipe that I came across uses lemon juice. And so for the first time making this, I'm going to go with lemon juice. So just, could use lime juice. I could have used grapefruit juice. I have a lot of grapefruit juice. Thank you, David and Chris. Okay, so that goes in there. And now we have sort of an overly sour punch. I'll just stick a swizzle in here, stir that around a little bit. If you want, you can cool this down some, but it's going to be resting at room temperature for a while as we pour it into the milk and let it curdle. So I don't see the point there. So what we're going to do, we have this plastic container here. One of the rules appears to be, when doing this, to make sure you pour your acidified, I think that's right, ingredient into the milk. If you pour the milk in, it will instantly curdle. That's bad. So what you want to do is pour this in slowly, and it will start to curdle slowly. But you want this pretty well integrated. Okay. There we go. Now, you don't want to agitate this too much, but you do want to give it a little bit of a stir just to make sure that everything comes together. All right. And yes, indeed, it appears that there's curdling going on. Okay. We are experimenting a little more here because almost all of the recipes also say use whole milk, and we have 2%, and they say use like whole regular milk, and we're using lactate. So I can't imagine that the lactic acid makes any difference, but I've been wrong before, so we'll find out. This is Science 101 or 103 or something along those lines. Okay, so that's going to sit there and curdle for a little while. And while that is doing that, I'm going to take this, all humor, childish humor aside, this is what is known as a nut bag. And it is used for pretty much making nut milks. And I'm going to put that over this glass. And once that we have let that sit and curdled for a while, like 20 minutes or so, so 8 o'clock-ish, maybe 8:10, something along those lines, we're going to pour that in here and let it drain out into our glass. Okay. All right. So there we go. There is step 1 or 3 or whatever on making the milk punch. So we're going to set that aside. Do not agitate that anymore. Let that just curdle up and be all hunky-dory curdling. Next recipe, hot buttered rum. So I'm going to set my kettle to going over here in the background so that we can have some hot buttered rum cocktails. So what better kind of cocktail for cold winter evenings? And we actually got snow. We did. We got lots of snow. We got like pretty close to 10 inches of snow in our backyard, which is pretty impressive. Since last time I talked to you guys, right? I think that's right.
Yeah.
And of course, DC shut down and all sorts of bad things ensued, but once again, we're surviving. So, with rain today, most of the snow is kind of gone, but it still feels a little more like winter. So, hot buttered rum. Yeah, sounds good. I should also point out, though, that January 17th, which is a week and a day from now, I think that's right, is apparently National Hot Buttered Rum Day. So good time for me to do this recipe so that you can make sure that you have all the ingredients on hand in order to make a hot buttered rum. So what is in a hot buttered rum? Well, it's pretty simple. It's 3 ingredients. It is hot water or other hot beverage of your choice, like tea or coffee or something, or apple cider or something along those lines. Rum, because hot buttered rum requires you to have rum. And then batter, a butter-based batter. And usually the way that is concocted is to take some stick of butter and beat it with a rolling pin on like wax paper or something, sprinkle a whole bunch of spices like, oh, I don't know, star anise and some cinnamon and nutmeg and some cloves and maybe some orange peel and like the dried orange peel, not like a orange peel, and mix that into the butter and form a batter. And then that batter goes, sticks in the refrigerator. And what you can do is just take a spoonful of that batter and dollop it into a cup. And then you're going to add your rums and you're going to add some hot water to that. And you're going to have a hot buttered rum. Okay, so what did I do? One other component to this is usually some sort of sweetener, whether that's honey or a simple syrup or something along those lines. So what I did was I created a batter here using some room temperature butter, and instead of adding a whole bunch of spices to this, I went with a slightly more liquid option, and I just added some St. Elizabeth's allspice dram and some honey to it. So that's what this is it is a slightly more liquid than you would normally get from a batter, spiced batter that is spiced with St. Elizabeth's, allspice dram, which has all sorts of yummy good things in it, and honey. So what we're going to do is we are going to take a couple of mugs while the water is heating. I think that's curdling. Hope that's curdling. Better be curdling. It's not curdling, we're not going to have a clarified milk punch. Okay, so we have 2 mugs. Note, mugs with handles. Okay, right?
Hot Buttered Rum Day is also Betty White's birthday.
Oh, so Star says that Betty White's birthday is also hot buttered rum day. So drink a hot buttered rum for Betty White. That seems like a plan.
And donate to your local animal shelter.
And donate to your local animal shelter. Yeah, sure. Okay, what do we need? We need a tablespoon and a half of the batter in each one of these glasses. So I have a tablespoon. I know I do because I pulled it out just before we did this. So I have a tablespoon, right? So we're going to do a tablespoon. And here's a little tiny spatula. Get that out of there. Just cut that off. And this is not one of those recipes that you have to be super careful on the proportions. Oh, we have a lighting issue. Interesting. I wonder if we have a slight power. Oops. Don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Are we flickering?
You're flickering.
Okay. Wow.
I wonder if that's the same circuit as your kettle.
That probably is the same circuit as my kettle. We know the kettle draws a fair amount. Okay. So there's a tablespoon here. Come on. There you go. And then we're going to do a half tablespoon. So what are proportions on the batter? There are all sorts of proportions all over the internet. My basic feeling is take some softened butter, start adding spices, allspice dram, sweetener to it as much as you want until it looks good and tastes good to you. Most of the recipes you'll see are really, really dark with the spices. So this is actually kind of pale in comparison to most of those. And this also comes out of the container a lot easier than a semi-firm butter. My water is done. I need to add the alcohol to this. So one of these we are going to add Smith & Cross to. Smith & Cross is a good Jamaican rum. Recently ran across who actually is the maker of the rums that go in here. Turns out it's a single manufacturer. It's Hamden. It's just a blend of two of the Hamden Jamaican rums that go in here. These are 2-ounce pours. So 2 ounces of the Smith & Cross goes there. And for the second, because I worry a little bit that I did not get the batter spicy enough, not hot spicy, but in terms of kind of Christmas spices, one of the other things that has Christmas fall spices in it is the voodoo rum that I did around Halloween. And it's sort of pumpkin spice, which has pretty much all of the same spice ingredients as you would want for Christmas spice. Yep. And so we're going to go 2 ounces of that in the other mug. And that goes right in there. Ta-da! Now here, we're going to make one other change to this before I pour the water on. The water doesn't have to be blazingly hot. I mean, I set it to a boil. It's fine. It's cooling as it goes. What we are going to do before we get any further, though, is I'm going to take these orange peels that I have studded with cloves, and I'm just going to drop them in here. Because when we pour the hot water over them, it will express out some of the oils, and it will express out some of the flavor from the cloves, and life will be, well, better that way. So, here's my problem, is that all of my jiggers are metal. So if I were to pour, say, 2 ounces of extremely hot water in here, I better hold it by the bottom bell. So there's 2. There's 4. And the recipes say 6. So a 3-to-1 mixture, right? So there we go. This is actually working fairly well. I'm not getting too much heat on the bottom bell, which is really nice.
Oh, it's good to know.
I would not want to... Oh, there we're getting a little bit of heat. It's now radiating down. Better hurry this up. I think it helps that these aren't... I'm not spending a lot of time with the hot water in them.
Oh, right.
You know, it goes in, pours out, goes in, pours out. Okay, I have... Oh, here's my... whisk. That's the word I'm looking for. Whisk. Which actually had some more batter on it. That's going to go in here. I'm just going to mix this up. Sure, you could use a bar spoon for this, but since I had this already handy, might as well do that. Okay, and we'll do that on this side. So this got a little more butter mix in it, but this has more spices in it because it's using the voodoo rum. The voodoo rum is also based on Kirkland's spiced rum, so there's already some spices in that rum as well. So here we go. We've got 2 hot buttered rums. Right, I'll just set that to the side. And there's no way you can tell. I can't show you what the coloration here is, but this looks a little bit like... I don't know, it looks like a little bit like a latte. I mean, it's that color of coffee with some cream in it color, which is, you know, given with the ingredients that are in here, that's kind of a little surprising. Oh, that smells really, really yummy. I'm gonna blow on this a little bit. Hopefully don't blow out my taste buds if this is too hot. Oh, oh no, that's quite delightful, actually. Um, mm. The allspice ram is a really nice note there. It is not overly spicy. Um, the rum really works with this. That Jamaican rum adds a nice funky component to it. You want to taste this one?
Yeah.
I'm liking that. I could sit back and watch the snow come down and drink that. There is 2 ounces of rum in that, but it doesn't taste like it because of the water in the batter.
Yeah.
Now, here's the voodoo rum. She's not happy with that one.
It's okay.
It's all right. It's a medicinal sippy.
Yeah.
Right? She's like, I don't care
I'd
for
rather
that.
have a hot chocolate with Bailey's in it.
Okay. Well, we could make this with hot chocolate instead. But, by the way, thank you, David and Chris.
Oh, yeah, for the hot cocoa bombs.
We have hot cocoa bombs. We just need to have more milk in order to make use of them. So how's the?
I like this one much better.
Okay. Well, can I have a taste of that one? A taste.
That one's better.
The flavor profiles of the spice are much more pronounced in that, but you'd expect them to be, right? It's also a little sweeter because of the Kirkland rum.
Yeah.
Right, Kirkland spice rum. All right, so you can run off and have that. And what I'm going to do is sip on the privateer a little bit. So I'm actually slightly ahead of the game here. I need about probably 5 more minutes or so on our curdling stuff.
Do you want me to move the camera so you can see the?
Yeah, sure. You want to take a look at what this looks like? I mean, it looks gross and disgusting. Nobody would want to drink that at this point.
I'm going to loosen the camera.
It's going to be all jiggly. All right, so we're going to move this. I'm going to set this like right here.
We're going to move.
Careful. Don't agitate it too much. Yeah, see, that looks really gross. Yep. But you can see there is separation here. There's clarification going on the top. So that's interesting. That's happening. Something's happening. We're not sure what, but something is happening. All right. Next up. So what we should do. So we should talk about the Sunset Sailor. Or not Sunset Sailor, it's actually the Sailor Sunset. Found this recipe on the Punch magazine website. And I didn't have any particular good reason for wanting to do this particular recipe, although it seemed yummy. And so it feels like I haven't done just a straight up tiki drink in a while. There's nothing particularly weird or unusual about this, although it does use an Amaro. And the original formulation for this cocktail uses Campari. We are not going to do that because then my wife won't drink any of it, and I need her to be drinking some of it because, well, I can't knock back all of this alcohol, at least not anymore. Okay, so what's in this one? So there's Demerara syrup, lime juice, grapefruit juice, need to use the grapefruit juice, dark Jamaican rum, and for that we are actually going to break that rule. We're going to use not a dark rum. We're going to use Dr. Bird for this. I really like the flavor of Dr. Bird. It does come in at 50%, so 100 proof. So it's got a little heat to it. And then instead of the Campari, we're going to use Gran Classico. I think that'll be a fine mix. We're also experimenting a little bit with some of the drinks where Star doesn't like the Campari that's in the drink. And we've used Aperol in the past, and I'm branching out and seeing if that still holds if we use Gran Classico for that. Because I like the Gran Classico flavor profile a little bit better than I do the Aperol flavor profile. Might use Gran Classico in like fall and winter, and use the Aperol in the spring and summer because it's a lighter and brighter flavor. So we can try that. Okay, I've gabbed for 3 or 4 minutes. Wow, I'm trying to think here on the timing. I gotta believe that that is gone enough time doing its little curdling thing. It's 13. It's about, oh, it's only 15 minutes though. I give it another 5. Okay,
Yeah.
so if I'm going to give it another 5, I'm going to have to mix a drink. So
Okay.
I guess we're going to do the Sailor Sunset now and let this continue to sit here. I can see it separating, so that's good. Shaken cocktail. So 1 portion of our shaker, 2nd portion of our shaker. So ½ ounce Demerara syrup. Here is the Demerara syrup. Yum, yum, yum. It just has, as opposed to a simple syrup, it's slightly heavier mouthfeel, and there's a, not quite a burnt, but there's a kind of a caramel flavor to Demerara syrup that you don't get from a simple syrup. Where is my jigger? There's my jigger. So ½ ounce. ½ ounce. My cocktail may be a little sweeter than what is called for on the punch recipe, just because my Demerara is a 2-to-1 syrup. I like making the 2-to-1 syrups because they are much more stable. And so they keep forever. And there's only 2 of us here, so I don't use a lot of syrup at any given time because, well, contrary to what you might think, I don't actually drink a ton. Okay, so now we need a ½ ounce of lime juice. Lime juice. Lime juice. Lime is over here. And here's the grapefruit juice. So ½ ounce lime juice. Once again, following the rule of putting the syrup in first and then clearing that out with my citrus component. There's lime.
Oh, you didn't bring down your new lime juicer.
And my new lime juicer. Oh, right, I did not. My mommy and Larry got me a juicer. I'm curious. It's a weird kind of juicer. How to describe this? It's a novelty item. I'm not sure how well it will work, but I'm anxious to try. So it's actually a lemon juicer. It has a spout on one end, and it's got sort of a prickly funnel on the other end. And the idea is that you're supposed to jam this into your fruit and turn it, and the spigot will allow you to just pour the juice straight from the fruit into whatever vessel that you want to pour it into. Color me slightly skeptical on that one, but we'll find out, right? Okay, lime juice, grapefruit juice, Demerara syrup. Now we need the rum. This is 1.5 ounces of dark rum. This is not a particularly boozy cocktail, right? There's 3/4. There's 3/4. Insert my usual joke about learning your fractions as children and why that's useful. Is there, and then we're going with the Gran Classico. Gran Classico is a bitter digestif or an amaro produced by Tempus Fugit. We love Tempus Fugit items.
So Crew of Molly is back on board and watching.
Yay! This is just Crew of Molly is back on board and watching. So yay, back on board Molly. I assume that means Molly is back in the water.
Yes.
Because otherwise that would be weird. I mean, I suppose you could be sitting on Molly while she's in dry dock, but that would be strange, I guess. Okay, so there's the Gran Classico. This is also not one of your more challenging drinks in terms of how potent and how strong the alcohol is, because this drink is going to be lengthened by ice and some ginger beer. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to toss some ice in this glass. There. Yeah, come on. There we go. Stay in there. Next up, ice goes in here, because we're going to shake this. So I'm apparently going to throw ice all over the floor, because that needed to be done, I guess. I don't know. Okay, it didn't go on the floor, just went on the counter, and now it's in the sink. Okay, we're going to shake those. All right. Drip, drip, drip. Oh, that smells so good. I got everything in there, right? I got the Dr. Bird in there. Yes, I got the Dr. Bird. Yes, I definitely got the Dr. Bird in there. Okay. I need to strain this. There's my strainer. Swizzle stick. That doesn't go in there. Straining, 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 straining. And we are going to go with a dark, spicy ginger beer. And we are going to use Reed's Craft Ginger Beer. This is the extra 100% more ginger than the original. And this guy I have. Okay, this is an exception to the rule of like open the bottle ahead of time. And we're just going to top this off. They say about 2 ounces. I think this is going to be a little short of the 2 ounces. Right, that goes in there. Spoon, head spoon, there's spoon. I'm just going to do, yeah. Stick this in here. And we're just going to raise and lower this. I would garnish this with, oh, I don't know, a candied piece of ginger or something along those lines. But I'm not feeling it. So there. Why is this called a Sailor's Sunset? I have no clue. There's nothing red in here. There's no indication of sunset at all. It has actually a little bit in common with the Dark and Stormy, except that the Dark and Stormy doesn't have lime juice in it. So it's kind of like a Moscow Mule made with rum, except that it's got sweetener in it, and it's not served in a copper mug, and so it's, you know, it's its own thing, and it's got the Grand Classico. So we'll see. Well, I'm fairly certain that I will be drinking that, although I don't know. That is
I just don't want to mix it with the hot butter rum.
That's actually quite nice. It is not a winter drink. That is definitely a lighter, brighter kind of cocktail. I'm gonna stick a straw in here. Straw, bamboo straw, slightly amber colored. Looks like a what's a glass straw that looks like a piece of bamboo from Surfside Sips. That goes in there. Let me take a sip just to see if it's not properly mixed. No, I think that's pretty tasty.
It has separated more.
Yes, yes, it has. All right, so here you go. Give that a taste, and then I'm going to have a glass of water here.
So I'm not a ginger beer fan.
She's not. She doesn't like ginger beer. She doesn't like ginger in general.
Yeah, that's.
She doesn't like Amaros in general
Yeah,
either.
yeah.
So we put Amaro and we put ginger beer in that, and that's a drinkable cocktail.
It is a drinkable cocktail. I am going to leave it with you, but.
I think if you, for your taste, if we added like a little grenadine to that, you would probably appreciate that a little better. But I find this light and refreshing and very, very nice. And if we're talking, medicinal, so we've got the hot battered rum, medicinal, curl up with the fire, be nice and warm, don't catch the flu. Warming spices. Very nice. But ginger is known to have medicinal properties as well. So here we go. We've got some, let's not do that. Let's rinse this out. Then take a sip. And that is really delightful. I quite like that. I would encourage you to do that. I'm not sure what it would be like, frankly, with the Campari. Oh, that's where the red comes from. Duh.
The Campari.
We're using Gran Classico, which is a dark orange color, instead of the Campari, which would be red, which would give you the sunset. Aha! So maybe this is sunrise. This is the sailor's sunrise instead of the sunset. Speaking of things settling, let's take a look at our goo. Here is our goo. There's definitely been some separation in here. So now things get a little complicated because I was planning on pouring this and then making the sailor's sunset and letting this drain out, but now I just have to do this here. So we're just going to, oh yeah, that totally curdled, yep. So there we go. Oh yeah, it's so disgusting. All right, so we're just going to pour this in.
Catch our late viewers up on what you're pouring in there?
Sure. So, dear late viewers, what we're doing is a clarified milk punch. So what we've done is we've taken the basic ingredients for a tropical punch. In this case, some tea, some sour, some sweetener, some rum, and a little port wine, and mixed that all together, added a little more acid to it, and then we poured that over some milk, stirred that around a little bit, and what's happening here is that the milk is curdling, because that's what milk does when it comes into contact with acid. Now, why on earth are we doing this? Well, because it has a couple of wonderful effects. One, it smooths out the cocktail. It takes some of the harsher components out. Some of those components that might become way harsh when they're colder. So for instance, I really like the tiki punches that I do that use tea as a major component of them. But high tannin teas can become really, really bitter, especially when they are cold. And so as a consequence, in order to get them to where they are drinkable, if you have them cold, you often have to over dilute them. Or you deal with something that's just too bitter because of the tannins. Well, what this is going to do is it'll retain the same flavor profile of this wonderful smoky tea, but it's going to pull out the tannins. So the tannins and harshness and bitterness aren't there. It doesn't just pull things out, though. It also adds stuff. It adds proteins to the mixture of your cocktail. It clarifies and makes the mixture clearer. It takes out some of the solids that are in there as they bind with the curds. And it leaves this wonderful silky mouthfeel. The first time I ever had a clarified milk punch, as I was telling the viewers at the beginning, was at the Columbia Room, and I'd never tasted anything with that sort of really, really silky mouthfeel before. And I've just never been up to the challenge, I guess. I mean, it just doesn't seem like it's that difficult, but it seemed daunting. I don't know why, but it seemed daunting to me. Now, there are some recipes for this that say, make sure you do this, you let this sit like overnight to curdle. And there are others that are like, yeah, 20 minutes is good enough. So we're doing like 20 minutes and we're going to see how this works. Right now we've got this straining through the nut milk bag, and there's still some liquid in there. But as you can tell, if you were watching earlier, you saw how cloudy that was earlier. Now look at how clear this is, right? Much clearer. And I would assume, I mean, I can see through it now, which is, a difference. I would assume that if I had let this curdle a little more, or I had added a little more milk to it, that we would have gotten a better curdle. Probably if I'd used whole milk, that also would have helped. You don't want to squeeze this, or if you do squeeze it, you want to be very, very gentle, because you don't want to squeeze any of the curds through here. So we're going to do this. Very gently. But you also don't want to leave all sorts of goodness in this bag. Yes, it's called a nut bag because you make nut milk with it. I can hear Brooke giggling from here. All right. And yeah, this does remind me of like milking a cow. It's pull, squeeze, pull, squeeze. Yeah, not doing that. So far, so good here. It's looking pretty clear. Okay, I'm just going to leave it like this because this is experiment. I don't know how well this is going to do. Let me see.
Science!
This is in fact science. Yes. Okay, so the original liquid. Let's see. What can I do here? I need a glass. Do I have a glass? Yes, I have a glass. So here is a glass. Right. This is the original liquid that we added some rum to, which only made it a little murkier. We added rum, we added port to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. And here's that. Right? You should be able to see that this is definitely clearer. And especially, I mean, if I look through, I can see through.
Hold your light up, your light bar.
I hold my light bar up. I can do the light bar. All right, so this is the. See that? You can't see through this, right? How about that? Can you see through that?
Yeah.
Much better, much clearer. And like I said, this is only like 20 minutes worth, maybe, of clarification. Now, I am told by Dave Arnold, I am told, I read the book where Dave Arnold said that one of the nice things about doing this is that this also leads to a frothier cocktail. You can get a nice foam off of this. I don't know how true that actually is, but we will see. Oh no, I have got liquid on my poor little keyboard. Do something about that. This is the dripping liquid on the keyboard. Bad sign there. Really should get like a plastic mat for that. Okay, so what are we going to do? We are going to take coupe glass right there. I'm going to pour this back in. We're going to do an experiment here. That goes there. What is the experiment? I'm going to do a half portion here. So what did we do? We did 1.5 ounces of this mix. Or we did 3, but we're going to do 1.5 now. Right? There's 3/4. 3/4. Right. And then we did 1 part port, so that would be 1/2 ounce of the port. And okay, so this is going to be fun. I should not have put the cork back in. Come on. Come on. See, the cork is trying to break on me. Don't do this. Don't. Where's my bottle opener? Hello?
You brought 2 down.
I brought 2 down.
Do I get to make fun of you again?
I put it somewhere so I wouldn't lose it. Did I put them back in the drawer? I did. So cork broke off. So bad cork. So we're going to be very gentle here. We're going to wind this back into the remainder of the cork that's in the bottle. We are through. Pop, there we go. So what I want to do is just do a quick comparison of mouthfeel, taste, etc. between these two. So I need 1/2 ounce of the port. Great. Okay, now you can just go over here. And then what did I use? I used the Hidden Harbor White. 1/2 ounce. Hey, that cork comes out easily. Okay, now I did add a little more sour to this, a little more acid to that, in order to get it to curdle appropriately. But I'm a little afraid that if I add more acid to this, that this is going to become undrinkable. So what I'm going to do is just stir this. Okay, so now this should actually be a more accurate color comparison, right?
Right.
Clarified, not clarified.
Whoa.
Right? Remember, this has port in it, and it's this color, this light pink color. If you clarify this longer, you can actually get this to be almost completely crystal clear. Okay, so we're just going to pour this in here. You could also, you can dilute this a little more. You can add some ice to this if you wanted. However you wanted to do this, just serve it whichever way you want to. And then this can go in here. And yes, we clearly, there is some loss of liquid, right? Because this is a half pour, and it's probably about 2/3 of that. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a taste test. I'm going to take a drink of water. Now we're getting all sciencey. The control, right? This is the control. Right. This is the without the clarification process. Have at thee. What gets worse? The tannin on the back end.
Yeah.
The tea has a really, really harsh tannin to it that is sucking all of the liquid off of my tongue.
I don't like that.
All right, actually, I'm going to.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Cross your fingers. I don't know. I've never done this before. This is my first time doing a clarified milk punch.
How is that the same thing?
I don't know. Let me find out. Right? Didn't miss anything. That has more acid. That has less acid in it than this does.
Right.
See, the only difference other than the clarification process.
Right.
That's so much better. It's much milder.
It's milder. It's smooth. It's not icky.
It does not have... So there is that sense of the tannin from the tea on the back end, but the tannin's not there. You get the flavor of it.
It's also not the sickeningly overripeness that you often get with port.
Well,
that this has. That this is filtered out.
Yeah, this is... it's a little dilute for my taste. It needs to be a little stronger flavor, but
science.
The grapefruit comes through on this and does not come through on here at all.
Yeah.
Because the oleo is a grapefruit oleo. Mm-hmm. That's much nicer than that.
Mm-hmm. That's nasty. I'm not going to drink any more of the original. So that is clarified milk punch.
I'm just going to pour the nasty over the curds and let that sit and see if that works a little bit of its magic. All right, there we go. We've done some science. We have done some wellness with the hot battered rum and with our ginger beer flavored Sailor's Sunset, which we're calling a Sunrise because there's no red in it because I'm not using Campari, using Gran Classico. Like the flavor of this. I think the Campari would actually be a little bitter with the ginger beer. So I think the Gran Classico is a much better pairing here, although we don't get the color right. Maybe just a splash of grenadine would solve that problem. And then the clarified milk punch. Wow. I think this is a little tricky, trying to get the proportions and flavors right such that when you strip out the harsher components, you're still left with something that's really yummy and flavorful. This, for my taste, is a little subtle. Maybe I want a little more oomph to it. But man, that's quite tasty. Dave Arnold does give a cautionary note that using this process with with spirits that are barrel aged, especially for long periods of time, that the wood has a mellowing effect, and when you clarify that, it actually takes out some of that mellowing effect, and what you wind up is tasting wood. It strips out all the yummy vanillins and that sort of thing, and you end up with, hey, this tastes like 12 years worth of wood. Yay! So not so good. Not saying you can't use rye or whiskey in a clarified punch of some sort. You just have to be a little more careful. So there you go. I'm probably going to use up the last of the milk that we have and clarify the rest of this, at which point it'll be shelf stable. And, that'll be, I'm going to keep it in the fridge anyway. And then we can have some relatively low ABV alcoholic fruit punch for the next couple of weeks without me having to do anything. So that'll be kind of cool and awesome. And it's now clocking in right about an hour after we started. It's like I'm hitting the marks and all that. I have a lot here in front of me, and I'm not going to drink this all, but I am going to say signing off.